Answer one question, then sit inside it. When were you last actually tired? Not bored. Tired. Not numb. Tired. Not avoiding the one thing you swore mattered. Tired. You reach for that word like a blanket. Tired is permission. Tired is innocent. Tired means the failure was never yours. But look at the honest record of your day. You sat. You scrolled. You waited for a feeling that was never coming. Your body did almost nothing. That is not exhaustion. That is rust. Here is the harder version. You are not tired. You are untrained. There is a difference, and you have spent years hiding in the gap between them. The tired man has spent his fuel. You have a full tank and a long story about why you cannot drive. This is not a lecture about working harder. You are not soft from too much demand. You are soft from too little. Tonight I take the word tired away from you. What you call laziness is not absence. It is capacity you refuse to spend. Force, sitting still, going stale inside you. You will not feel inspired by the end of this. I am not here for that. You will feel exposed. Then, if you are honest, you will feel dangerous. Because once you see the unspent fuel, you cannot unsee it. And a man who knows he is full cannot keep lying about being empty. So hold the question. Do not set it down. When were you last actually tired? You already know the answer. That is the problem. Let me name it precisely, because vague guilt changes nothing. Your problem is not energy, it is aim. You have plenty of force. You pointed at nothing. You are not lazy in the cartoon way you fear. A lazy man does nothing. You do plenty. You do everything except the thing. You research instead of starting. You plan instead of moving. You rest before you have earned the right to be tired. You tidy the room to avoid the work waiting on the desk. This is the untrained hound. Raw energy with no command. It does not lie still. It lunges. At the fridge, at the feed, at every small noise that promises a smaller life. Watch how you translate yourself. You call it tired. It is unwilling. You call it overwhelmed. It is unpracticed. You call it later. It is never. You call it self-care. It is surrender wearing a softer name. Every time you choose comfort, you train the hound to expect comfort. Every time you flinch from difficulty, you teach the animal that difficulty is a threat. Every time you wait to feel ready, you prove to yourself that readiness is a mood and not a decision. So the animal grows strong and obedient to the wrong master. It obeys the impulse. It ignores the man. Picture the project you have named for 3 years and never started. You bought the courses. You followed the men who did it. You have rehearsed the announcement in your head 100 times. What you have not done is the first ugly hour of real work. You mistook preparation for progress. You confused motion near the thing for motion into it. Now hear the part you have been avoiding. Pain is information. The ache of effort is the muscle reporting that it is working. The dull resistance before a hard task is not a warning. It is the cost of crossing. You have learned to read that report as an alarm. So you shut it off daily, and you call the silence tired. Marcus Aurelius spoke to himself at dawn. He told himself plainly that he was rising to do the work of a human being. He did not wait to feel like it. He named the resistance and walked straight through it before it could vote. You do the opposite. You wake and you negotiate. You hand the first decision of the day to the weakest version of you, the one still half asleep, and you let him set the terms. He always votes for the bed. He always wins. The story you tell is that you lack motivation. The truth is, you have trained yourself out of motion. Motivation was never the engine. Motion is the engine. Motivation is exhaust. Look at what laziness actually protects. It protects you from the verdict. If you never spend the force, you never find out what it was worth. You stay full of theoretical greatness, undefeated, because you never enter. That is the quiet trade you keep making. You exchange a real life you might fail at for an imagined life you can never test. And the cruelty of it is this: the fuel does not go away when you refuse to spend it. It turns into restlessness, into that low hum of dissatisfaction you feel every night. That hum is not depression, it is pressure. It is force with nowhere to go, complaining. You are not empty. You are a battery left on the shelf so long you forgot it was charged. So stop reading the gauge backwards. That heaviness you feel is not the proof that you have nothing left. It is the proof that you have stored too much and discharged none of it. A full battery left untouched does not stay full forever. It corrodes, it leaks, it loses its capacity to hold a charge at all. That is what comfort does to a man across years. Not dramatic ruin, slow loss of capacity. One day the force that scared you in your 20s simply will not gather anymore. So the boredom is a signal, not a sentence. The restlessness is the charge asking to be spent. The discomfort before hard work is a threshold, not a wall. You have been treating every threshold as a stop sign. From now, you read it as a doorway. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Read that coldly. The hound is not the enemy. The untrained hound is. The energy is not the problem. The energy with no handler is. Freedom is not the absence of that force. Freedom is the day you can command it. Here is the reframe, and I want it to land hard. Laziness is not a lack. It is a misdirection. You are not a low-energy man trying to become high energy. You are a high-energy man who points his power at avoidance and calls himself weak. Think about how much effort your avoidance takes. The mental gymnastics to justify the skipped session, the elaborate rituals of distraction, the exhausting work of not doing the thing while staying busy enough to feel innocent. Count the hours, the half-watched videos, the plans rewritten for the 5th time, the conversations where you describe the life instead of building it. You did not lack energy for any of that. You found it instantly. The force was always there. You just kept spending it on the rehearsal and skipping the performance. That is not laziness. That is misapplied discipline. You are already disciplined. You have just been training for the wrong fight. So we do not add force. You have enough. We redirect it. Take it personal. The version of you that keeps choosing the smaller life is not neutral. He is costing you, specifically, daily. Every threshold you refuse to cross, he pockets the difference. Stop being polite to that part of yourself. The goal is not to become tireless. The goal is to become a threat to the work, to walk at the hard task with enough trained force that it stops being a mountain and starts being a thing you handle before lunch. You want the work to feel you coming. You want resistance to learn your name. That does not arrive as a feeling. It arrives as a method. And a method is something you can run tomorrow, whether the hound is calm or not. So here is the protocol. Not inspiration, instructions. Run this exactly. 5 steps, starting with your next morning. 1. Name the lie before your feet hit the floor. The moment you wake, the weak vote arrives. Just 5 more minutes. Not today. You are too tired. Do not argue with it. Name it. Say, out loud if you must, that is not tired. That is unwilling. You do not have to win the debate. You only have to refuse to call the lie by its flattering name. Naming it strips its cover. An excuse only works in the dark. 2. Move before you feel ready. Within 5 minutes of waking, put the body in motion. Stand, cold water on the face. 20 hard reps of anything, not because the workout matters yet, because the precedent matters. You are teaching the hound that the first command of the day comes from you, not from the impulse. Win the first decision, and you do not hand the day to the weakest version of yourself. Lose it, and he sets the terms until noon. 3. Strike the hardest task first, while the charge is highest. You have one window each day where your force is fullest. The morning. You have been spending it on the easy and the urgent. Reverse it. The thing you most want to avoid is the thing with the most stored pressure behind it. That is not coincidence. The size of the dread maps the size of the charge. Attack it first, before the inbox, before the noise. You do not need to finish it. You need to make contact while you are most dangerous. 4. When the flinch comes, label it and move toward it. It will come. Mid-task, the urge to check, to break, to flee into something smaller. Do not obey it. Do not fight it for an hour either. Label it. Say, that is the threshold, not the wall. Then take one more step into the work. One paragraph, one set, one call. Pain is information. The flinch is telling you exactly where the edge of your training is. So you train there. Each time you step toward the flinch instead of away, you retrain the animal. You teach it that discomfort is the path, not the predator. 5. Spend the charge on purpose every single day, then earn the rest. Do not wait to feel tired. Create real fatigue through real output. Set a daily floor of hard work. You do not skip regardless of mood. Make it small enough that you cannot lie your way out of it, and real enough that it costs you something. At day's end, write one honest line. Did I spend the force, or did I hoard it? No essay, one sentence. The truth in writing is harder to dodge than the truth in your head. That is the protocol. 5 steps, no feeling required. Notice what is not on the list. Motivation, confidence, the right mood, permission. None of it is required. None of it is coming. You run the method on the days you feel strong. You run the exact same method on the days you feel like nothing. That is the entire point. The hound does not need to want the command. It needs to obey it until obedience becomes its nature. Do this for 30 days, and the gauge inverts. The unspent charge that used to leak out as restlessness starts leaving as work, and the man who empties himself into something real every day sleeps like a man who finally earned the word tired. So understand what laziness actually was. Never weakness, never emptiness. It was a full charge with no handler. Force pointed at avoidance, calling itself fatigue. You are not low. You are loaded. You have simply been spending your discipline on the art of not starting. Redirect it, and the same man who could not rise becomes the man the work begins to fear. Nothing is added. Everything is aimed. I am not going to wish you luck. Luck is what men hope for when they will not run the method. I will leave you where I found you, with the question. You wanted me to tell you that you were tired. I will not. So tell me, and tell yourself, and do not answer it with the word you always use. When were you last actually tired?